The question I want to ask today is, especially to the young crowd here, is what does it mean to be Indian? 2 years ago, I think that question is very personal, especially to the younger generation, to the first and second and the third generation Indians. As we grapple with this question of identity. And 2 years ago, I was pondering the same question. To be Indian, does that mean we come to these nice functions and we play dandiya, we have samosas, do we have religious rituals, do we talk about a poor country, or do we talk about the IT boom? And the question that came to my mind was, am I even Indian? And the search for identity took me to India. So for 2 years, I worked in rural Rajasthan, which is fortunate enough to be my ancestral land, in the place of my father, the place of my ancestors. And I served through an organization called IndiGor, which facilitates young Indians like us to go back and serve the country for 1 or 2 years. And we worked in a variety of different sectors, in employability, in literacy, in healthcare, in community leadership. What I want to tell you is that the search for identity, that's where it came to fruition, was when I was there. Because the concept of social service isn't easy, right? Nobody wants an American, which is because you're an Indian here, you're an American in India. Nobody wants an American to come to the village and tell them, I'm going to make your life better. And it was hard. It's easy to go and you get caught up in a patriotic fervor. But what do you do there? At the 3-month mark, the 6-month mark, when you have a year and a half in front of you, what keeps you there? And what I realized is that I had to give up that attitude which I went in with, which was I'm here to help somebody, right? I think what kept me there and what ultimately mattered is that I had to identify with myself, identify that place, and myself in that place. I'll give you a quote from this lady called Leela Watson, who's an Australian Aboriginal woman. And the quote goes as such: "If you have come here to help me, then you're wasting your time. But if you have come here because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together." Like it or not, India is intertwined with my identity. As American as I want to be, or as whatever I want to be, a part of me will still be Indian. How much ever I try to deny it. Every time I look in the mirror, I know I'm Indian, right? The question at that point became different, right? It was no longer about what does it mean to be Indian. I realized that in those 2 years that it is my, the question became, how do I define what being Indian means? I realized that it is my right, my responsibility, and my privilege to define that. As young Indians abroad, we have to realize that we are the ambassadors of India to the world. So the question I want to leave you with today is the same that I had the fortune of discovering and realizing over my last 2 years, which is, what does it mean to be Indian, and how will we choose to define that? Right? Will we choose to define ourselves as Indians? How will we choose to define ourselves as Indian Americans? I say, as young Indians and as everyone here, let's take on that challenge, because this is a chance for a clean slate. One thing that we have to realize is that if we talk about the passion of youth, right? Let's not waste youth on the young, right? What we have to realize is that India is not the India of the history books. It is you and I who will define its greatness. So, let us make our own India and let us work for change. Thank you. Jai Hind.
I'm sure teenagers like us do ask those questions, if I am Indian, and which way and how. Next on the agenda is the prize distribution ceremony, and I'd like to call upon Mr. Robert Wall to help us distribute the prizes. For the 2008 tennis singles in the girls section, first prize goes to Varshini Kadade Varma. Varshini. Second prize goes to Ashika Shah. Okay. Next, Swati Manapena. Yashashvi Suresh. In the boys section, Akshay Nambiar for first prize.